All righty, guys. How are you doing? We're back in this kind of format again. And yeah, I had to take a few weeks off because I was very busy and it was doing a lot of things that I hopefully will be able to tell you about in a little bit. But for now, I'm just like happy to be back. I wish there were filters in StreamYard because I don't feel that fresh today. So you know how it goes. Those of you who are here, just throw me a comment in the comment. If you're on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, wherever you are, just toss a comment about how you're doing. And I have this new feature now. Look, there is some kind of marquee thing in the bottom. So it's gonna be annoyingly moving all the time. Because I've obviously prepared a lot of silly questions to put in the bottom. But with that said, toss me the comments or toss us the comments because we're two people here today. It's me and it's Mariana. And Mariana is a business owner, facilitator, originally from Brazil, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. So let's just bring her into the chat or into the talk. Hey, Mariana.
Hello. Good morning, Jasper. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, it's good to see you all early in the morning to start the day.
How are you doing today, Mariana?
Oh, I'm a bit tired. I have a 3-year-old son, so he wake up quite a few times this night. So yeah. But I'm excited to start working and get inspired here with this talk today.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm terrible talking about myself. So do you want the LinkedIn version of it or do you want the real life?
We're here in real life. Life.
LinkedIn, you can check it out later, right?
That's other groups, fake version.
Yeah, the polished,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so no polished version. So I'm an entrepreneur by heart. Everything that I do starts from the heart. So since I was 19 years old, so this 9 years ago, I've started testing new business model, and digital business is something that really inspires me. And everything that I do, it's always like, okay, I see this problem and see these people in real pain. How can I help them with the things that I know? How can I get the people to join me and help them? So this is how I started many different websites, platforms, online courses. But I can focus in one that it was like the biggest one that I did, that is Criança e Saúde, and it means in English, child and health. And it started as, a simple blog where I noticed that, okay, parents in Brazil, they take too long to go to the doctor to treat their kids that are born with some kind of misformation or malformation or, has another diagnosis, and they need like some kind of treatment or therapy right away. And for me, it was, okay, so this is a communication problem because they eventually go to the doctor, but sometimes it's too late. And imagine if you have a baby that, is born with the legs that, are with malformation. And if you visit the doctor in the first year and you can treat it, the child is able to walk.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And this is a huge thing in someone's life. Yeah. So I was studying digital marketing, and the first thing that I heard was, okay, you need to start like a small blog, something just to test, like SEO strategies and check on Google Analytics how you're doing. And this is the website. And it was quite a good journey because I was, okay, I don't want just to create a website. I want to do something that is important. So I had this idea, and of course I don't understand everything about medicine. So I was calling doctors to write on the website, and it took me 3 months to really get the first one. Yeah. I was begging, like, please, let's do, and sharing the dream. And it starts like this. And it was my, weekend project, something small. And it helped me to get my first internship back in 2011 and, get my career going. But after 3 years of this, like going on, posting every Friday new articles, I start to see a big growth in it. And then was the time that I was studying in Israel, in Tel Aviv University, entrepreneurship and innovation. And I asked my mentor, what do you think about this project that I have? And he was like, oh, this there is something in it.
Yeah.
So, and then I reached out to a friend that was working with me previously in another company. And I was like, do you want to be my co-founder? And we can create a nice brand and, really bring this to the next stage. And she was like, let's do it. So the way that you should not start a business together. First with your friend, and second, like just like this right away without conflict. That you stop to think,
Yeah, I mean there are different rules to that, but the number one rule is don't start a business with a friend. That's like I've just recently done that, but I mean rules are meant to be broken. But that's like it's such a high failure rate when you start off with friends. It's better to start off with people who you don't know, but you have like vested interest in that you really need each other to make it a success. But yeah, go on. What happened?
And it was great in the beginning because I was quite young and I was totally scared to start. The responsibility on my shoulders was like, oh my God, what if I fail?
Yeah.
Look at all these people there. And it was really hindering to start. But we were there for each other and it was great. Yeah. But of course, after some time, like I was working much more than her in the website, and we were both investing like half a half. So it was okay this part, but she was still working full time for another company, and she was having her first baby. So it was like really hard for us to keep going, and we started to really grow fast. And getting, new people working with us, the team was expanding, the number of colonists was also expanding. So the whole operation was happening. We were, running a lot of different startups, competitions, like to really get good visibility, but also mentorship programs, acceleration program. Yeah. So you can imagine that it was hard to like keep working in this space, was not anymore a weekend project.
No. And that's so also what
this was challenging.
Yeah, and it's also what makes it interesting because you started off with a very spread out team, or like people you were talking to, doctors, talking to friends, and then it was majority like a blog website. Yeah. And then it went into something else at some point. But so your team started growing. Both were you sitting in an office and then you had the writers who were outside, or how did that work?
So this is the interesting part, because when we started growing the company, people were coming to my place to work.
Yeah.
So this was the co-working space.
Your apartment.
Usually,
your apartment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was really cautious about how much we were spending because we didn't have an investor. I was one of the investors and my co-founder was the other one. So we were really like tight in budget. And the people, they would be like coming after university. They would do university in the morning and they would come in the afternoon to work with us. And they were like in the middle or end of the graduation. So they were like quite good at, but they were not like ready, for a full-time position. So it was a good target to hire, and they were ambitious. They want to apply everything that they were learning. So this was also for them a good school. And yeah, the people that were writing for the website, they were working in the hospital or in their own offices. So they were all doctors or psychologists. So I was reaching out to them, and we would do, how can I call it? Like an onboarding process where I would interview them and give them some tips like, oh, if you are talking with someone during the day and you see that, oh, this is an interesting question, I could write about it. You just take a note, and then later on you can write a text, a whole article, and we will help you to come up with a good title and instruct it in a better way. So we were supporting them to write in a good way, because they are not, communicators usually.
And that is
their own field.
That is very interesting, like angle to it, because I know that the people who are in this, especially in the Facebook group, are very like they're in the stage of either building a team or maintaining a team. And from my experience, like the whole setup or like the base, like how a team grows into a team, makes it very much easier or very much more difficult to manage at a later stage. So that's why it's very interesting to hear what you're saying. But you left Brazil and you came to Sweden. At what point? Like, what went on there? Like how like why?
Exactly. Like so. Yeah, the truth is that life changed it completely from what I was structuring, and building the roads to go. So I had to that end, move. So what happened was that in 2016, we had already 9 people working in my apartment. So we had a big balcony with a nice view in Rio de Janeiro, and we're doing great. Like I was really like, okay, we are leaving this early stage and start to really, okay, now being more structured and starting the growth. We are in this there. And then I found out that I was pregnant, and I hadn't planned this at all. And for me, it was really clear, okay, my budget is about to finish. Because when I was 18, my father told me, okay, I have this gift for you. You can have a car. And I told him oh, thank you, but I would like to invest this money. So I had some money to invest, and that I was, paying the whole operations, but it was not enough for a long time. So when I find out that I was pregnant, I was totally scared. I was okay. So now I will need to do consultancy and freelance, not only weekends, but also during the week, because I need to pay my bills. And then I had to go the other way around. How can you change the scale up to, okay, let's shrink a bit more, and how can we keep the minimum operations so this website survives this phase that I don't know what will happen. And I think many companies are facing this now, because of the pandemic. So it was really painful for me to, let people go and just turn completely for this unknown. And then, I came to Sweden because my boyfriend, he's Swedish, and we realized very early that, living in Sweden will be better for us in many different areas of our life. So we moved. And then the first year, of course, I was with the NOAA Super Small. And then I started the second year of NOAA to really movement the website again and, slightly get better and try to fix things. So what happened is that we start from 40,000 views per month. We went down to 20,000, but it's a lot of people, right? So it's almost insane that the website, even though it was completely, working by itself, no one was touching it, was still reaching out. So I think this tells a lot of the big work that me and my team did before. And I think it's mainly because we were a self-organized team. We didn't have a hierarchical team, and everyone was responsible for what they were doing. And of course, it sounds beautiful now, but in the beginning was a lot of chaos. Okay.
But tell me about that, because that's now we're really getting to the core of this. What is a self-organizing team?
So it's a team that comes together, and in my perception, we define what we were going to do, what we want to achieve based on our mission, our purpose with the business. And we together list all the different activities that needs to happen for us to, get there. and we'll volunteer ourselves in the different tasks. And of course, if I'm good at designing something, I would take the designer, role and the different things. But there are things that it's a bit like in the between roles, and especially when you have a small team in a startup, many times you need to do a bit of everything and put different hats.
Yeah.
So this was a good way for us to validate, okay, what exactly needs to happen, who is willing to do this, and who is not just motivated but also good at it. So we had this score from 1 to 3 for each line, and we could easily swap roles and responsibilities. And to be really honest, many times we didn't even have this like written down. It was just like talking, and was so smooth, the process.
That sounds almost like cheating, because I've never had that happen. What did you do to make that work?
I think it's I think it becomes goes back to when you're hiring people.
Yeah.
I don't like to check CVs and like what you did before, because for me it doesn't really matter. I like when the people can combine the hard skills and soft skills with the life experience.
Yeah.
And I always, for me, the main question when I was hiring someone was, why do you want to work with us? And usually they had like a personal story, a connection to the cause, to what we do, and really strong. And for me, this was like, okay, so this person is eager to learn new things, and it's truly connected to what we are doing. So and with the combination, you have the fuel, to get started.
So they understood your purpose, so to speak.
Yes.
And that's an ingredient in making it work later with your decentralized teams?
Yes, I think it's a main thing, because without the motivation there, it's really hard to, to collaborate, because people will be a bit disengaged, and it's not because of the team, it's because of something else. So I think this needs to be in place, and then you can start working the culture.
Yeah.
And a good model that helped me in this process was the team performance model. That is when you have like, you answer different questions. It's like throwing a tennis ball. You start with, okay, why am I here? So it's your motivation. And then, okay, who are you? And then you start to get to know each other. And then, okay, what actually we are doing here? And then you go to the different stages.
So let me bring you back there. So you had brought this team together, and then you start doing these activities, or is this something that they have to do themselves, or how does that work? Do you take charge of starting to ask them? Do you meet in a room? Do you eat cookies and drink milk? What happens there? Like when you ask
so that's a great question, because it didn't start like this. Of course, it was a process to get there.
Yeah.
To be really honest, in the beginning, like when I had the first employee in the company, I was micromanaging. I was doing to-do lists and telling you like, oh, this is what you do and how you do, and And then when I got to one, I realized that I couldn't work myself, because my work was to tell them how to work and what to do. So, and then in the fourth person was already like unsustainable. Yeah. So I had great mentors that helped me to find out more different ways of working. And one of my mentors talked with me about Holocracy. And it's a book that I really recommend for you guys if you want to, understand new ways of organizing your teams and your business. And I started testing, new methods. So the first time I tried Holocracy, I put everyone in my living room. We put, we shared the screen with big Excel sheet with, the purpose, the key objectives, and, the different roles and responsibilities, motivation, and etc. But people were not really ready for it. And I think it's because I was not ready for it. I took the tool and applied without really going deep and understanding the mindset behind it.
So you were actually micromanaging still with Holocracy.
Yes, exactly. So it took me a long time to understand that why it's not working. But and then after some time, I started doing this in a one by one.
Yeah.
And starting with me first.
Yeah.
So, and then it started working. So last year when we launched an online business, online course, for example, we were 3 in different countries with different ages, and we were doing this exercise. Okay,
Yeah.
who will do what? And for me, for example, I had to run the whole process of recording and editing the videos, and I hated doing this. But yeah, I was the only one that was skilled to do this.
Yeah.
Not motivated. But and then my peers, they could help me motivating me with the different tasks, So it's an interesting moment because you can understand why people are reacting or performing certain ways,
Yeah. And do you have any insights there? Like, because one of the things that have come to my attention is like, even though you have good intentions as a boss, like I'm a crappy boss because I don't understand these. Like, I understand like how to engage people and how to be visionary and like enthusiastic, but then there are things that I don't understand in people. For example, one of the things I don't understand is jealousy, right? And so if you like, if I was a boss, like I was giving out tasks like this, then people started getting jealous at each other. And I've been seeing this so many times, like when people are like, "Oh, why are they not? Why do they get to do that, all the fun stuff, and why don't I get to do that?"
Yeah.
I am keen to understand how to avoid that, because that's really something that kills productivity in a team. But like if I were to just say like, yeah, you guys go ahead and solve that, like you guys just take care of it, as one might think that a decentralized team work, then they would just kill each other. So how did you manage to like get? How do you actually manage to get them to solve it? Was it these workshops that you have together? Was it like, is there an onboarding? Is there jealousy still in that? And it's just that everyone's like, but we're doing holocracy, so we're fine. We're decentralized. Or does it actually work?
Yeah, I totally understand you, and I
Yeah.
think this is a common thing to happen.
Yeah.
So I would not recommend anyone to just give, like, oh, you guys solve this,
No.
because they will kill each other. So you need to facilitate the process, either you or someone else from like outside this conflict,
Yeah.
because things happen. But I think it always comes down to like what is your need.
Yeah.
Because in the end, like, it's so important to understand, okay, why you're not motivated with these tasks that you have, and why you think that someone else has like more fun things. Can we spread out better? Because I think what happened in many times in pyramid structures is that the people in the bottom, they had the basic groundwork that is not fun at all.
Yeah.
And then the other people, like more high up, they have the strategic and the fun, brainstorm and like what will come next. And nowadays, especially our generation, we want to, get things done. We want to be part of the change. We want to lead the change. So it's important to co-create and collaborate throughout this process of dividing tasks. So I think it goes back to this moment.
Okay, so it's as you are actually handing out tasks, or as people are taking on what to do, that's when you decide like, I am gonna be responsible for this. And
so everyone volunteers to something.
Okay. And
instead of me telling you what you should do.
Yeah.
What I can bring to the table, I think we as the team needs to do like this, and then we will discuss different ways, different hows.
And so in essence,
we have the list, and then we know like, okay, we need someone taking care of social media. We need someone taking care of customer support, for example. This is something that was a super boring thing when we launched the online course last year, and because I was doing the other thing that I didn't like, the other girl in the team, she was like, okay, I can take this part. It's not fun for me as well, but I'm not that unmotivated to do it. It's okay. Yeah. So we were spreading out. So we knew like, okay, everyone is taking some work that, not motivates them.
So you were all being honest about that?
Yes.
With each other?
Hopefully.
And so the key here is like, Like, so the difference here is like one case, Jasper goes to the team and says, here are tasks, you go ahead and solve them. No process, no facilitation. That's bad. The good version of, oh yeah, that is bad.
It works for
I
some
have
people. Like most of the
empirical
companies
evidence
operate
that
in
that
that
is
way.
bad. The good way of doing this is actually sitting down in a group with your tasks and then agreeing everyone who's going to do what and being completely open about it. So that's sort of the difference there.
Yeah, you volunteer. I think the key thing here is that you volunteer yourself for the task.
Okay, cool.
And it's almost awkward if you leave something on the table, because let's take the customer support, as the example. If you're 3 or 10 people and no one takes this, it's like, come on, I already took something that is not that fun for me. Can someone take this?
So much fun. Customer service. It's the
That
best.
people love. I need to find these people because in this team that I was working, we had like a person really expert in digital marketing. I was more into the design part and the structure of the whole operations of the business, and the other one was the expert knowing like the content, writing the whole content for the course. So we were 3 in this case. So of course the setup is a bit easier to negotiate those things. But at the same time, it's super important to know like what is motivating and unmotivating. And you can of course swap things. Oh, I will take this for a few weeks and then someone else will take over. There are so many ways to organize.
Cool. So you now
I can see your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking. But so now we're in post Brazil world. We have a team. Let's say we have a team, right?
Okay.
You mentioned that it was important, the recruitment. You recruited people who agreed or like who had a purpose or shared your purpose. Then when they came in, you sort of like sat down and you started like handing out, or you guys agreed and volunteered on who should solve what problem. Everyone volunteered in the team. One more thing.
Yeah. So in the beginning, so let's go to a bit of team development.
Yeah.
Also Susan Whelan. She talks about the different stages of teams. So
Mm-hmm.
the first stage, you have like this dependence on the leader.
Yeah.
So when the person comes, usually I need to sit and say, oh, you need to work more like with the content part, for example. And here are some tasks. So I need to guide this person. And then throughout this process, I will ask this person some questions. Do you like to do this? What motivates you? And what would you like to do? Not only this part, but something else. So I go to this transaction because it's not something natural for people. They come to work, they want to know exactly what they would do. So I failed trying to do this, volunteer from the beginning, because people were like, oh, I have no idea what it means, I don't know how is the process behind this area or that area. I'm new in this company. So in the beginning, I need to take the hands and give a bit some tasks, and usually the person comes already knowing that, oh, I will be in the development part or in the design part. But and then once you go deeper there, and then you can really see what motivates them, that they can keep, and what are other projects that they want to volunteer or create. So it's you go like in a path with the person. For me, this was the best way.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good way. And the thing here that I'm thinking about is that do you devote like all your time being a boss then, like, or being a leader there, or do you work as well? So how do you keep mind space to both care about other people and to actually deliver in the projects?
Yeah, I would say that it's my dream to be able to only take care of people, because I really love to see them growing and, facilitating feedback sessions, retrospectives. But right now, and how it was in the last 9 years, I had to put a lot of my hands dirty. So I would say that most of the time I'm working.
Yeah.
And I try to, after the person, it's completely onboarded, like after 1-2 months, I would start telling the person like, what do you think? You can decide.
Yeah.
And it's trying to leave the person, going and thinking by itself to really want the whole like piece of the cake that that she or him is working on,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do my own work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, at this point in time, we have a few people who are watching here, and we just got the first angry face that I've ever seen. Please, I mean, get involved in the comments. If you have something like some comments about what it is that we're talking about, then just get involved because yeah, that's the whole thing with this format, that we can interact with each other and discuss things. So where the team development part is important. People join in, they're new, and then they are sort of dependent upon the leader. You start taking them on a path. So as a leader, you need to understand that people go through these phases in order to be able to meet them with the correct response. Because
Yes.
I must also say there are two, like I shared offices with a few people who are working with engagement. Niklas Delmar, Emma Ignell, Johan Book, Beata Wickborn was there, and Ian Hoffmeister, and they are working with like engagement, and they talk a lot about self-determination theory. Is that something that you've heard about?
No, I never heard about, but
No.
I trust in self-leadership a lot.
Yeah.
And this is something that everyone that has worked at Criança e Saúde, Child and Health, has developed,
Mhm.
because you have to.
Yeah.
There's no one telling you if you're doing a great job or not.
No.
Usually I will ask, what do you think? And we together as a team, we evaluate our own work.
Yeah.
So I really like self-feedback, for example, for that. And then you start wanting what you do, and you take responsibility, and not just like, oh, I'm contributing and my boss, it's the one taking all the credibility and, etc. I don't like this style. It doesn't resonate with me, at least. Some people like, but yeah, I think it's a matter of different styles.
Yeah. And I mean, I also think like so here's the problem I have. Like it's not that I understand. It's not that I don't understand the theory behind this, right? But when I meet a person, I think that, I mean, coming into the question about what makes a good leader, or what more importantly, what makes a good boss. Like a leader, any like odd bloke or girl can be, you just, I have a vision, and people go, yeah, we want to be in your vision. That's a leader, sure. Pretty easy, because you have zero responsibility. But being a good boss, right? That takes something else. You have so what I'm trying to determine here is like, what are the things, the keys to actually making that work? And I think I have a few so far. Like, you actually meet people where they are, and you onboard them, and you have a process for that. That goes very well with growth hacking as well, where you have like a process that you optimize, right? Same kind of thinking, right? So it would make sense to make a good boss if you're a good growth hacker, just a different focus. The second thing is that you seem to have like rituals where you guys meet, and you're honest, and it's like, in this space we can be safe and secure and things like that. And that's something I find that a lot of people don't have time, or they believe they don't have time, or they think it's silly. They don't go into it with their heart. And so are there keys as to, if you see someone who is skeptical, because one of the questions going into this is like, is teamwork for everyone? And so I'm like, number one, is teamwork for everyone? Like, because I understand that this requires teamwork. Is teamwork for everyone? And are there keys as to how to sort of flip someone who is not into this?
I would say that first, yes, I think teamwork is for everyone.
Yeah.
Because we are social beings. We need each other to survive, and this is not just nowadays. This is from far back in time, so it's inside our DNA. What happened is that lately, teamwork, it's becoming more and more challenging, because we are in this fast-paced world. And we came from this industrial revolution and
Yeah.
First and Second World War, and a lot of hierarchy, really in place, and you do this, only this is correct. And now with this fast pace, at least in all the different business that I started, for me it was super hard to keep like, okay, what exactly is the thing that I'm doing? Because I started here and then it started spreading and then it becomes something like this.
Yeah.
And things change all the time.
Yeah.
So it's, I think we need to change the dynamics that we use. So yes, it's super important to have, time that you sit down and talk about what is going on. So I would say that start with reflection sessions
Yeah.
by yourself, also as a group. It's super important because it's the moment that you all share in a way that you're speaking from the I, and you're not judging anyone. You're just saying how you feel and what affected you, and what you want to do differently, or what did you learn from it. So it's an important part of the process, and then you build empathy. And this is something that in many workplaces is lacking.
Yeah, definitely. And see this, like already, like 15 years ago, Jesper, of what you've said, all of those words like reflection, empathy, all of those things, those would have been red flags for me to check out, right? And so for myself, the process of understanding the value for this had to go through business results, because if you manage to end up where you are talking about, having decentralized teams where people are taking responsibility, the growth rate actually just skyrockets. But to be sort of infused with the system, like the hierarchical system, especially if you're used to not being the boss and then being put in the position of being a boss, that's it's actually a kind of a danger zone. And the first part, like as you were saying, like the first the first 2 years, like for example, where you get introduced to all these models of essentially like making people start feeling things at the workplace, that's really a danger place as well. Because if you come in with the hierarchical, cynical mind, then you understand that these are powerful methods to make people do things that you want them to do as well. You can use them as one of those, like, because you understand how like teams and people work together. So I'm like thinking, so are there things, have you seen, I mean, we have both seen poor and like good examples of this, but are there characteristics in people that help other people
Yeah,
to
I would put this new question with the previous one, like what makes a good leader. I think one thing that I noticed that in other people that I really look up to and admire as leaders, and I try to do the same, is to, okay, after something happened, that, okay, I did something wrong or was not the best approach, what you do about it. How do you respond to that? And for me, a great leader would, recognize what happened and, try to do something about it. And also be humble to say, I don't know, when you don't have the answer. Because the thing is, when I started 9 years ago, I didn't have most of the answers. And I was super insecure. And then throughout these years, I realized that I still don't know most of the things. I don't have the answers. I still don't have. And to be humble to say this and share this, insecurity or uncertainty with your team in a healthy way, in a way that will empower them to join and come on board and help you to solve this. It's a key thing in my view.
Yeah. And we have a question as well, and I think it also builds onto this, because it's this whole like goo of everything happening at once, and I want to bring it in. It's here. Alexander Harris asks, What about balancing teamwork and individual work? Because some people can feel uncomfortable doing teamwork, but share more individually. And experience in this, any experience in this scenario? And I just want to build on this question because I was thinking about it because I've been so into trying to understand how teams work, so that I've sort of, in my lectures, for example, I've sort of completely schooled them to just be in group work. And then last time, like last week, when I had a lecture, I saw the face of this one person in the room was starting to get, detached from the situation. So it's a group of about 20 people, and they're studying growth marketing, and I'm helping them out to sort of, I'm facilitating one of the data-driven courses there. And I had been, for the first two sessions, I had been, the majority part of the work had been teamwork. And then I could see her. I was like, oh my God, I recognize that face. That's my face. Sick and tired of having to work with other people. Now I want to go and do actual work. So that was my separation there. Like, there's teamwork, and that's like, or to put it this way,
Yeah.
whenever we go to a meeting, I always have more to do when I leave that meeting than when I got to the meeting. But it seems as though there are people, when you go into those sessions, that's when they do their work and get work done. So the stress levels of those people go down during the session, group meeting thingy. Stress levels for me go up. And I could so recognize this in this girl. And so I could really understand, like, Alexander's question here is like, what about balancing between teamwork and individual work? Is it all teamwork, or do you like split it up, like from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, when I say that everyone can work in a team,
Yeah.
It's one thing. Another thing is that, okay, am I going to only work in teams and all the time together? This is a totally different thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's separate these two. Yeah, Alexander, I totally empathize with what you say, because I really need this me time and working alone to sometimes go like into some hard questions or strategies to really get my head, totally focused. But on the other hand, I also need some time brainstorming with other people, and I think I'm the most creative when I'm around other people that are sharing the same vision. So I would say that it's interesting and it's important to have this balance, and only you will know what is your balance, and then it's your responsibility to communicate this to your team, so you all can adapt, and understand like how you guys can work together. Because for me, there is no recipe for the perfect team cake.
But I guess,
Everyone will have their own recipe, can be a chocolate cake, but
yeah, but
everyone will do it a different way.
I think, Mariana, you actually gave the recipe previously when you said that you guys sit down and volunteer. And so
Yeah.
that ritual is the most important thing. And then how you then solve this task also needs to be volunteered, right? So if
Yeah,
I
you
need,
bring suggestions.
if I need you to solve this case, then I am responsible for taking you into this ordeal, right? So because I hate it when I am dependent on someone else to solve a task. And so I want to be able to solve it myself. But when I really need someone, then I need a process for that, and it needs to be okay for me to to sort of to ask, and that ritual needs to be in place. And I think that's really where the essence of that comes together. But building on Alexander's question as well, in the pre question to the growth hacker group, I'm just gonna bring Ace of Spades says hi from Russia, hi from Sweden.
Hello. Wow.
And just to build on this, there is a thing where I found a lot of companies who explain that they're working with culture, but what they're actually doing is partying. So they say that, oh, we're gonna have this after work to work on our culture. We're gonna go out drinking together because we are working on our team. Team building activity means going out drinking or going to a party. Why is that a challenge?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing. I think it does, of course, affect the team and bring people together. It's important to leave the work behind and be more personal. But I believe that this is just one aspect of it.
Yeah.
I like personally don't like afterwards. I love going home and just being by myself and quiet and having my downtime. So I had a really hard time in some companies when I was, for example, in Brazil, working for an insurance company. And I remember that it was really tough for me because I was really young and people were going for these bars to drink beer. And I was like, this is not really my thing. How can I, be part of this if this is not really my thing? And I found different ways. So during lunchtime, I was going out for lunch, but this is not enough.
No.
So for me, like I tested so many different ways, and I found out that having regular feedback sessions where we as a team sit together and give feedback for ourselves, but also for each other. You could start with appreciation, so everyone feels included and seen. And then you can, in another session, go to a more like, growth mindset approach where you help each other to grow through feedback. Because it can be hindering to just go this, totally like, okay, from after work, now you also do feedback. But wait a minute, there is something in between. So you need to build trust first.
Yeah. I understand that. I completely understand that. And it also, I mean, it's a bit like it's a bit attached to the good leader, bad leader kind of paradigm as well, because the sort of so I think that after work is a symptom of bad leadership, because if there is a lot of after work, then it's about the leader just doing this, like not taking responsibility, because like good culture is not comfortable. That's the one thing I've learned.
Yes.
It becomes comfortable, or it becomes interesting, and you become passionate when you're in a good culture, but it's not comfortable. You're not just like, it's just not just like happening. After work is comfortable, and good culture drives change in the company. You're constantly improving things because you have a good culture to do that. People feel safe, people feel trust. The after work culture, or the after work thingy, is like, get drunk, forget about the problems, and then we come back on Monday and be as unproductive as we were this week. That made us feel like we had to go booze. And and it comes back to leadership. Sorry, I went off on the red. It comes back to leadership, because the leadership has to then go in and take responsibility for that. But it's so comfortable not to take responsibility for that. It's so comfortable to just like push it aside and be like, you guys go have fun now. And then you don't do nothing about it.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really interesting point of view, Jesper. I'm trying to think here if I ever went to after work with my team. I don't think so. So
Yeah,
it is something that I'm reflecting now.
We're gonna bring in Alexander. He says, I think afterworks are helpful as long as they include everyone, and I agree. Probably bowling would be more team bonding than just going out to drink. Yeah. Most likely.
It's a key. You need to understand who are the people in your team and decide together what will be this after work, or this activity that you do together, because you need to include everyone, and it's a challenging, especially in a diverse team, right?
Yeah, definitely in a diverse team. Because you need to communicate. But I think that the key here, I mean, I'm going to throw that back to Alexandra as well, and to you, Mariana, as well. The thing that Alexandra says here about like bowling would be more team bonding than just out to drink is about like you're still solving a task when you're bowling, right? So if you're doing that in teams against each other, teams of 2, teams of 3, you're actually solving a problem, solving a task together. And I think, I mean, even climbing trees together, or doing like dangerous things together is better than just drinking, because when you're drinking you're actually not building something. I mean, might there be something in there? I'm thinking out loud, I'm not.
Yeah.
So Alexander, Mariana, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have some thoughts. I think, yeah, it is like a moment that you can bond, of course.
Hmm.
But I personally experience much more powerful moments when you sit together inside your workplace place,
Yeah, okay.
and you reflect as a group, and then you share vulnerability. You bring your whole self to work. You
Yeah,
talk about what is worrying you, what's happening in your personal life, and this is something that you need to build trust in order to start doing it. It's extremely hindering in the beginning.
yeah,
People don't want to do. I will personally say that for me, I want to just leave the door when these things happen, because I'm like, oh no, again, a new team, no. But afterwards, it's so good. It's
yeah,
so
it feels good.
amazing to work with these people and be able to see each other
Hmm.
100%.
Yeah,
And for me, Jesper, I think a good and bad leader, I see myself in both places.
yeah,
It's a back and forth thing. It's an iterative process. Many
yeah,
times I found myself falling into hierarchy and old ways of working, and then I try to bring myself back.
yeah,
So you know it's a process. Oh, we have more questions.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, we do. Here, Ace of Spades. I had Ace of Spades on in one of the first sessions here in the growth hacking group. He is a growth hacker from Russia, and he asks now, after work is another work. You guys heard of emotional labor thing from the sociologists?
No, I never heard
None,
it.
none of us.
Sounds so interesting. Share with us more.
Yes, right. Or post a link to a book or something in the comments so that we can bring it up on the screen. But I have another question from Eric as well. Creating a strong culture if the team is fully remote. Any tips? How did
Yeah,
you do it?
yeah. So I will be honest. Since I moved to Sweden, I start growing slightly my team again. So last year we were 3, now we're 4, and we are working remote because now I'm in Sweden. My co-founder, she's in Madrid, in Spain, and most of the other people are in Brazil, spread out in different cities. So we never meet face to face. But we do have these long phone calls, because sometimes like this, video calls can be a bit tiring because you look at the screen. But just go for a walk and have this long call to really get to know each other and go to a bit more personal things, and how is it going for you? How can we help you better? Like last week, I hired a new person, and then in this one of these talks, she was like, yeah, this will be great for me, will help me to pay my bills and etc. And I was like, okay, so is it better that I pay you up front instead of the end of the month? And she was like, yeah, but you don't need to. But for me, it was like, yes, of course. If I'm hiring you, I trust you, and we can be flexible. So it's super important to keep this connection, this closeness with people, especially as a leader.
Yeah,
It's your responsibility, to see people, not only the hard skills and the soft skills, but also the person, behind it,
yeah.
what is happening in their life, and be curious about.
And yeah, and I think like it sort of stems from as well. Like I've felt now during this period that I become a lot more task oriented. The sort of the politics and the other stuff, it's not as important because you don't meet the people as much. And as I become more task oriented, purpose or like why I'm doing things, because then you really understand what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there doing these things. And so reminding, like having those check-ins, not just with like, I think that for me it's been important to check in with good friends of mine during this period and just asking them like, isn't this weird that we're doing this? Isn't this just crazy, and Eric, just as, I mean, I haven't tried this out, but I would say like one of the things that I would try in a team now would be to just like send people out to sort of talk about the company or talk about what they're doing with other people to get that sort of day to day, because we have someone around us that we can talk to. And I think that will actually strengthen the sort of group focus internally as well, because as long as you're not, working with something that is destroying everything around you, you will actually get some feedback to like, wow, wow, people do that. You have
Exactly.
this other job. I think that's as important as having these check-ins face to face with your former colleagues, because work becomes very much more task oriented and very much less sort of, we have to also agree on everything, because as soon as we click the button here, we're off, they're not around. So those kind of conflicts is not as important, and keeping that relationship is not as important, but purpose becomes important because I'm still alone when I click the button. And so I need to know why I'm doing all of these tasks. And I think it goes back to what you said, Mariana, as well in the beginning about sharing purpose as you walk into an organization.
Yes. And it's not an obvious thing, to be honest. Like most of the people that I interviewed, they didn't have like, oh, my purpose in life is this beautiful thing. No, they were just like, oh, this, when I saw Criança e Saúde, I was really passionate about what you guys are doing, why, and then we go deeper in the why, and usually it's a really strong thing, and this first like fuel that just boosts the collaboration. But we're 4 minutes to end, right? And I have some books that really changed my life as an entrepreneur that I want to share. So the first one, it's Holocracy. I have this version here, but you guys, can find. It's amazing, and it's really practical. So you can go really in the operational part of it. It's not just, like fluffiness. So if you want methods and, really, and also how you scale with this management style, because it's complex and it's so different. Another book, it's Reinventing Organizations. It's this one.
Yay, that one I have.
It's amazing. I think like I just bought this new version that is with illustrations. It's just so good. And
Can
it
you
really
hold it up again? Can you hold it up again?
Yes.
Cool.
So it gives you a good perspective from like how we have been operating business from the past few years until now, and we are onto something. So everyone now is in this movement, and it's almost becoming a cliche purpose, but this book really brings you a good perspective and how companies can actually work in a better way. And they say that it's not that you're removing completely hierarchy, but you are giving the people that understand about the different areas power to lead in those areas, instead of having this extremely hierarchical thing. Because sometimes, your new intern or your new CEO knows more about something than someone that has 50 years of experience. So because knowledge nowadays, it's something that it's fluid. You get all the time, right? It's so many books, internet is there, so it's quite interesting. Creating Effective Teams, Susan Whelan. This it's full of tags, this book, because it's my Bible. I always come back to it every time I'm struggling with the team. Here is I find the answers, and also when the team is performing really well, this also helps you to keep there. And there is this Shakti Leadership, a new book that I'm reading, and talks about how can you embrace the feminine and the masculine power in business, and talks about conscious leadership, conscious business, and it's just like insane. One of my mentors told me that it changed her life, and I'm reading and just like I can't sleep because I want to finish this book. So I strongly recommend if you're interested to go deeper. And there is the last one, This one, Jasper, I think you don't have. It's visual
I
themes.
don't have the link to it now.
Yeah, I forgot to send you beforehand. It's also, you see, full of notes because it has all the different activities that you can do with your team. And one key insight from this book is that if you have your process really visual, it's easier for people to share the same vision.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great books and like my best friends here.
So just one last. I know that we're beyond the hour, but we're not picky here.
I'm flexible.
Just one thing. Did you read this? When did these books enter into your sort of world? Did they enter at some specific point, or did you
So
fail and then you started? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So visual teams, I have. This is the second version. I bought in 2014.
Yeah.
Visual meetings. That it's similar book. And I remember that I saw a few things and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I apply one to one another, but it was a bit fluffy. And I don't think I was so motivated to really read the whole thing and apply. And Holocracy as well was like in 2014, I received a mentorship from Ana Julia Guilherme. She's amazing. If you want to hear more about Holocracy and new ways of working, she's amazing. And I didn't take it serious. I was just like trying to get, like the resume of the art and applying something. But and then after failing a lot, I start to really take serious. And then I started reading those books and then just getting one after another and really communicating with the other entrepreneurs to understand what they do, what they read, where is the source, of their wisdom.
Yeah.
And also at the Hyper Island, I joined Hyper Island last year, just a business developer program, and my main focus was to really strengthen my leadership because I struggled a lot in those years. Like it's tough to not have this background in management, and then you ended up building your website and starting the whole operations, and suddenly you find yourself as a leader or in a leadership position. So I struggled a lot there. So that's why I read so many books, and these are my top favorites. Jasper, do you have any favorites that give you?
I have a lot of failed projects and broken relationships. that is my book. No, but I've read the Reinventing Organization one. I loved it. I'm working with Hyper Island for 11 years. You have to sort of be deaf and blind to not hear about Susan Whelan and be introduced to that. So I had a lot of secondhand smoke in terms of these books and seeing them in action, people who have actually studied them and read them. And I guess that sort of signifies what's the difference between me and you, so to speak, and the good leaders and good bosses leaders, is that, you've taken a lot of time to actually go in and thoughtfully browse through these kinds of literature, the theory, and then go out and try and apply it. And so it goes back to the same thing with digital tactics or product development or now leadership and groups, is that it's actually a thing. It's not something that just happens, and you have to go out and you have to practice and you have to learn, you have to do all of those things. And that's my takeaway from this talk as well, and also from what we've been talking about previously, is that you do this as thoughtful as I go into a digital tactics campaign. Like I plan and structure and think about all the details. It goes as much goes into being a good leader and being a good boss. And so that also explains to me why teamwork is important, especially in terms of growth. Because if I can work with you in a project, I don't have to be a leader. Or I can be a self-leader, blah, 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 motivation, self-determination, productivity. But I trust you to be a leader because you're good at it, right? And because you are as detailed as me in terms of that. And so I will have full trust for you in that process. And now it's starting to come to me during this talk that what, like, the similarities in thinking. I've always thought that it's so different from
Yeah.
what I do, but it's not. It's just a different thing, and you're just very much better at it than me. so 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 that explains teamwork for me as well,
Yeah,
like the
I
purpose
think
of
it's
teamwork.
like an important thing in many, educational programs and acceleration programs as well. People talk a lot about the hard skills. Oh, you need to learn this and this and that, but you also need to understand about people. Doesn't matter, like if you are the founder of the startup or if you're the guy coding, and you just join.
No.
So I think it's something that we all should learn. In high school, we learn about plants. People talk a lot about learn about people and go deeper in that. I think, yeah, I'm happy that Hyper Island already understood this and it's doing something about. So, yeah. Do you guys have any more questions? And
Yeah, we have a comment here. I mean, both, like, Alexander asks if we guys use LinkedIn, and I say yes. Is that a correct answer?
yes, I use. So you can reach out and yeah, I'm happy to grab some fika. Could be online or face to face if you're in Stockholm. Yeah, and I'm open to share different documents and processes. Okay, if you're on the growth hack community on Facebook, reach out there because I'm really open to share everything. Oh, that's me.
Yeah, exactly. That's you. I should also bring in Alex. Asks here, emotional labor is managing feelings and expressions to fulfill the emotional requirements of a job. Workers are expected to regulate their emotions during interactions with customers and coworkers. Yeah, makes sense.
Maybe my next reading.
Exactly. We will have to Google that, I think, or I will have to do that at least. It sounds like something that seems logical, but it's always with everything is like yes and then becomes something else. All right. So we've gone from usually it's a little bit unstructured as with everything that I do in life, but I just want to thank you, Mariana, for wanting to participate, and I would like to actually bring you on a little bit further to just have a clear topic Q&A. What some of my learnings from this, like besides the whole like team thing and the purpose, like the real value of it, besides just productivity, it has become like how we should do these things. So I'd like to bring you back one more time and do this a little bit differently, because I can see when people are being engaged and when people are not throughout the talk, and I'm like, hey, we should put this format into.
Yes, and I'm sure to come here and share and also co-create it with you guys. Maybe like based on a business, how this business should operate, and we, create this session.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because and then we all experience how is this together. So we could have like a few more volunteers that wants to come on the screen, and we pretend to be a team for 1 hour. I don't know. I think it's something for us to discuss in the Facebook group. There are so many different things that we could do.
Yeah. Well, all right, group.
Thank you so much.
And
thank you all.
Please, put in the comments. If you have any comments on Facebook, then put them on Facebook. If you have them on YouTube, then put them in the, not in the chat, but in the real comments below on YouTube, because that's how Mariana and I can see them afterwards. I can see the chat, but Mariana can only see the comments below. So if you have any questions, you put them below. I'm actually gonna make 4 smaller videos out of this one, because just to cut out the 4 of the questions that came up. And then repost them both in the group and on YouTube. So I hope that you guys will be able to then consume this very long format. Thank you, Mariana.
Thank you, Jesper. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great and fantastic Friday.
Bye-bye.